Hey guys, welcome back to Healing with AJ. And we're here with AJ. Say hi to the people.
Hey guys, welcome back to our channel.
Welcome back, guys.
Obviously, it's me, AJ, and this is my mother, Angelina.
Hey guys, my name's Ange and this is AJ. And if you are again new here and you know anyone else that may benefit from any of the things that we have shared so far, I believe that her name is Otesiri, who messaged us and said, hello eczema mama here, went the TSW route, incredibly tough, and these are some really great tips. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you so much. We love the feedback. Also very much love to hear other parents that have also and children that have gone through the skin. Yes, let us know and let us help you guys make them feel special and to know that they're not the only ones and they are seen and heard and absolutely loved as much as we love you guys for joining us. Okay, so today's topic, we're going to be talking about itchiness. You feel the itch and then you scratch. So this video is going to be about itchiness. That is one of the things that I do get a lot of parents asking me, what's this constant itching or why they still itching even though I have eliminated food allergies. I think it's also important to understand that there's a difference between the eczema when you're managing just eczema, managing itchiness during eczema or management of eczema, and then itchiness during TSW. They are very different itch, as I got to find out, and I think AJ also got to find out. So when you're just managing eczema, sometimes I found that it was a lot more easier for me to kind of rule things out. So maybe things like food allergies and environmental allergies, I was able to know, like in this, between, especially now and into like spring into summer, it's now pollen season, or if she's around carpets, grass as well, she's around her environmental allergens, and therefore that's triggering an itch. Food allergies, if she had eaten something, I would say, okay, maybe she ate something that may contain dairy, and maybe we just heat is another thing, like the skin bits getting a little bit too hot in the summer, constantly like making sure that her skin is, or even when in hot weather, like even when we go on holiday, I am constantly making sure that either you have like a hot flannel, like a cold flannel, like a flannel, cool the skin down. Ice packs is another thing. But yeah, like, just them feeling too hot. In the winter, the heating on in the house, that usually did used to trigger an itch in her as well. So it will be on in the house, or just having a Dyson fan with a Dyson fan that also has a heating function. So we use that rather than having the heaters on in the house or whatever room she's in basically at the time. So sweating, she was triggered by her own sweat for a very long time. Actually, I would honestly say, I think it's only since we've gone through TSW, during the trenches of TSW and during eczema management, I would say that yes, sweating did used to trigger itching. Yes.
So when I had those ice the lollipop, the Coca-Cola flavor, when you said about the may contain thing, I had an ice lolly that you didn't read the whole thing properly, and it had may contain milk in it. Yeah, that's what I said last week, and then I told you that I had may contain milk in it.
That's what I said. Like it could be an oversight. Like you may not see that. You may. Yeah. It could be that you're getting a bit itchy, but not itchy.
Not like boom.
No. The other thing that we also noticed as well during the management of eczema was detergent. For some reason, since she was a baby, we had started out with Fairy, non-bio. However, for some reason, when she turned 4 and when her eczema was just uncontrollable, clothing, it's like polyester. Like whenever she wore anything that had polyester, there was this hypersensitivity that she was feeling. So again, like I said, if you go back to our previous videos, whatever treatments that she was getting, which was the topical and oral steroids, were not working. We started to kind of have a different look at all the different things that I had been doing already. There's something in that brand that is just now not, because they've just become really hypersensitive to those things. So detergent's another thing.
Something about stress, but maybe it's not like 100% cotton.
Yeah, so clothing irritations, you don't want anything that's not cotton on their skin. So when we tested AJ for when we did the hair follicle test. So in terms of like clothing, we did start to notice the irritability around polyester, like I said before. So we just basically changed all her clothing to cotton. Or I mean, bedding was already cotton bed sheets, and you know, like for example, the duvet covers also had to be cotton, and anything that was like polyester basically, yeah. So again, like all the clothing had to be cotton, because anything else was, or viscose was another thing that we would, viscose silk, those were great for her. Stress and emotional triggers is another thing that also trigger itchiness. It could just be like they're just anxious, for example, like about a procedure that they're about to have, or like she was quite anxious about going out during the pollen season, and that was quite triggering. So sometimes she may not want to go outside, or we had to wait until, you know, the pollen levels had gone down, or even with that, like we just had to, just the way of managing the, you know, the emotion and the stress of it all was just like trying to making sure that her neck is covered, because again she had eczema on the back of her neck, so making sure that that was completely covered to avoid any pollen getting onto her skin. And yeah, again, from head to like all arms covered, all legs covered, just the face out. So I think that had been the saving grace for her as well, is that we had never used any steroid or creams on her face. I would say is making sure that if your child has had open and cracked skin, is to always get in a habit, even when they've had like viral infections and colds and coughs, you may be thinking like there is still a lingering itchiness. That is just what I would encourage you to do, is getting nasal and throat or mouth swabs, where you ask your doctor to basically do that and to rule out any lingering infections that may be in the throat and in the nose. That can also, because that's internal, that can also be causing that itch, so get that ruled out. The other thing that you could also do is a skin swab, so where the doctor will have to swab the skin and swab within the cracks, that the cracked open skin, as well as like getting a piece of the skin and taking that to be tested. You want to make sure that the stuff on the skin, which we all have, however, when there is a lingering infection, or if they may have a skin infection, the stuff basically just could possibly overpower anything that may be going on, and if it gets into the cracked skin, then you'll have a severe staph infection. You also want to avoid your child being around other kids or even adults that may have for example with her, what triggered her staph infection was the mere fact that she was around somebody that had scarlet fever, and that triggered because obviously she had open skin and then touched her skin, and that triggered a really severe staph infection. While you're managing eczema, that you're going to notice that teething is another thing that we noticed was triggering. You know, just making sure that, especially if you see that when you touch the affected areas, they're very warm, really warm to touch, it's yellow, it's crusting, it's weeping, all of that are indicators that there is an eczema infection, skin infection brewing. So you want to be mindful to rule that out. Now to the itchiness. Now, is the antihistamine is, if you're noticing that your child's not getting any effect from it, then rule out all the other things. I know it can be draining and it's a lot of work and management, but I would encourage you to get all of those tests done and ruled out, so that you can then ask your doctor, like, okay, well, if this antihistamine is no longer working and they prescribe your child an alternative that may possibly be better for them and work better for them. So that's that. Now, the itchiness during TSW, I will honestly say it is different to when she was...
My skin started stinging. It hurt so much. I was scratching so much. I had to run to my mum. I was so itchy. It hurt so bad.
Yes, I think what Aileen is trying to describe is during TSW, her skin was so hypersensitive. So it was, even though we were on the hunt trying to find something that would help with moisturizing, but also with the itch or managing this very inflamed skin. So for anyone that knows anyone or has gone through TSW, you would know that the skin is practically open. Like, it's open 24 hours a day. It's oozing. It's obviously made worse by Applying anything topical was very, very tricky at the time, because finding what she could tolerate was also another thing. So a lot of creams were just really, really burning her skin whenever you applied them. But in terms of the itch itself during TSW, is if you have ruled out all the other things I have said, that for example the nasal, the skin swabs, that itch is not, it's like they're basically very hypersensitive to any allergens, especially external allergens that they will have, that you practically have to keep the skin closed all the time. Like at night, even the body temperature fluctuates a lot. So we had the fan on at night, all night. She had the fan on all night because her body temperature was never regulating to a point where it was like, now you're too hot, or now you're too cold, or now it's just right. Absolutely not. So this burning sensation, I would honestly say, like she used to say, it's like she could just be sitting there. She would just describe it as just like this burning itchiness and it's like she would attack the skin and wherever it was. So that was really, really difficult to manage. It was like an icebox in this house for me, because it was, she managed better when the room was colder. And I think I would say like that's the only time, like she was the only person that just did not feel the cold. Most of our antihistamines were given at night or maybe leading up to the evening. So she would have a dose late afternoon and she'll have another dose and you obviously like later on in the nighttime when she did wake. The other thing that I would say as well is, because the skin is already open and you are trying to repair the skin, so what worked for us was the zinc. So we would use zinc paste. So like I said before, with the itchiness, because it was worse at night, I would encourage you to again offer the antihistamines. But we also, during that time, after I had prepped the skin, because we were wet wrapping during that time, you want to put a lot of like zinc to help with the openness, the redness, the sensation. But the other thing as well was, which again I can now say that it was nerve pain, but her joints are aching, so it would take a lot more time for us to get ready in the morning. And again, just because the sleeps interrupted a lot at night, or disrupted a lot at night, it was allowing her to, once her body did manage to relax and rest, then I'll just let her sleep. Like she could, if she slept like from 5 a.m. until like, allow them to rest. Once they are able to sleep, I know sometimes people still have to go to work, and I had that as well, but I always try to just allow her to just sleep and naturally wake up. It's really, really, really tricky during TSW with the itch. It's a different way of managing and controlling it, because it's just so, you can't control it during TSW, and that's why I think the two differ. So ways that what helped us during managing eczema but also TSW is I always used I've always used aloe vera. To this day we still use aloe vera on her hair.
It doesn't taste, because it gets on my lip, it touches my tongue and it touches like hair a bit, and then I can, like, when I try to close my mouth, I just feel the aloe vera in my mouth.
So aloe vera everywhere, guys. Use the aloe vera. Use the aloe vera on the skin, especially where there's cracked and open skin. Put it on. Introduce distraction techniques. One of the things that I've been big on is just incorporating, not stepping her away from any activities that she was doing during eczema. So even during TSW, she carried on with activities, gymnastics. Turn that around. We introduced piano as a way to kind of obviously like remind her that her hands were more than just how they looked on her skin, because she used to say a lot that you didn't like your hands. But I just had to remind her, like, your hands didn't look like that before. They would look like they would look like how they looked when you were a baby, or even when you were a baby. Exactly.
My skin started to get like this, but now the way I look at it is getting bad.
Just encourage some sort of activities during their day to just to help the distraction away from everything else that's going. And I think that was so imperative. You know, the environment and the community that you are building around your child, as intentional as you all are, and you're going to be on this journey, you also want to include the school. So every activity she was involved in, even at school, I always just I go the extra mile to kind of just speak to everyone and say to them, these are her allergies. These are, please, like, she can't sit on carpets if you guys have carpets, or she would just have to sit on a chair. And it's just about tailoring every single space that they're going to go into. It's about tailoring your child wherever spaces they're going to go in, because you do, as much as their experience might not be like all the other kids, you still want them to be a part. You want them to be confident that this is a temporary journey that they're navigating, and they will soon know experiences that they're having at the moment with their skin. So you do want them to also be comfortable when they're away from you. And yes, it's anxiety provoking all the time. It's given. It's really given. But just try not to stress about it. Again, loose clothing. Like very loose clothing. Most of her pajamas were like 2 sizes too big. Remember, if the skin is sweating or the temperature is unregulated, the last thing you need is for them to be sweating, but the skin is weeping as well. Again, stick to cotton, stick to silk. And just because you're going to be wet wrapping anyway, you do want like really loose pajamas or loose clothing on top of that if you are worried about maybe the house being too cold. But again, the skin also loves like really loose clothing. The nails have to be short.
Then like when you're
so
scratching,
when you scratch,
your skin is going to go
you're ripping the skin that you are trying to repair. And again, cold compresses. During the summer we use a lot of cold compresses. During the winter you use cold compresses. So it doesn't matter, like, have it with you, ice packs. Just literally, don't be scared. And I know a lot of kids don't like a cold compress.
I hate cold compresses. They're so cold. I feel like I'm in the North Pole when I feel that.
Yeah, but then it's such an instant soothe. Like, it's such an instant soothe.
Only cold compress that I like is something that I can eat, a cold ice cream.
Not everyone likes them, but once they get used to them, they do soothe. They do soothe them quite quickly. They do soothe and itch quite quickly. Emotional regulation.
I get emotional so easy.
Yes, you definitely get emotional, but then I think in that moment it's just reassuring them. All of that, just all the positive reassurance that you can think of.
For our second video, I got so emotional because it was really hard having the skin, and I remember I was crying.
But you just have to keep reassuring them. Loads of hugs. Even though like sometimes like cold sleeping, like definitely not. Like and itch quite quickly. Emotional regulation.
I get emotional so easy.
Yes, you definitely get emotional, but then I think in that moment it's just reassuring them. Just be reassuring them. Like, I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, I know it's tricky, I know it's all of that, just all the positive reassurance that you can think of.
For our second video, I got so emotional because it was really hard having the skin, and I remember I was crying.
Yeah, it's very, very tricky. It's very hard, but you just have to keep reassuring them. Loads of hugs. Even though like sometimes like cold sleeping, like definitely not. Like it had to be a thing where I'm constantly telling you like you can't sleep in my bed.
I love sleeping in a bed.
Yeah, but it's like during that time, because they're healing, and their skin is shedding, and you got all of that going on, and their body temperature is not regulated to us. So body contact and body heat is like, it's just not beneficial for her, and reminding them of those things. Yeah, and not once, letting her making her feel like, oh, I understand how you feel. Absolutely don't. I'm just assisting you, and I know it's hard and I know it's tricky. It's very difficult for you. It's very difficult having that skin, because I don't have it. I'm only helping you on this journey. But just hearing them, just letting them vent about how they feel, letting them have the meltdown, letting them cry about it.
I remember when my birthday yesterday, I was so emotional when I got that thing, and I thought I couldn't even have it because I have an allergy to wheat and
Yeah.
So I thought I couldn't have it. So yeah, I got really emotional.
It is. It can be very